أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Welcome to Receiving Noor Weekly Quran Study. We are continuing to journey in Sura 76, al-Insan, the human being. And this is our fourth session, and we had left off at verse 12. And as usual, Sister Yamina will be leading the study, and you're welcome to join in with comments and questions as relevant during the discourse, and also we'll have Q&A at the end. Bismillah. Jazakallah khair, Sister Yamina.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام وعلى سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So as Isra just reminded us, we had stopped at ayah 12 of Surah al-Insan, Surah 76, where the description of Jannah, of paradise, starts. And we'll see that it ends, the description of paradise ends with ayah 22, inshallah. And rewards and blessings of paradise are mentioned. We'll see also why this is important for us here and now, as usual, because we always like to remind ourselves that this is God speaking to us, our Rabb speaking to us here and now. So even if it's something that's going to happen in the future, it is relevant for us to know about it now, because it's going to transform how we live now, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. So in ayah 12 we are told, and He will reward them. Them here are the abrar that were described earlier in this surah. So He will reward them for all their patience and steadfastness with the garden and with silk. And the word garden is also the word Jannah, which means garden, which means also paradise. وَجَزَاهُمْ بِمَا صَبَرُوا جَنَّةً وَحَرِيرًا. Reclining in it on couches, they will experience there neither burning sun nor bitter cold. متكئين فيها على الأرائك لا يرون فيها شمسا ولا زمهريرا. Its shading branches will droop down over them, and its clusters of fruit will hang down low, most easy to reach. ودانية عليهم ظلالها وذللت قطوفها تذليلا. And they will be weighted upon with vessels of silver and goblets that will seem to be crystal. ويطاف عليهم بآنية من فضة وأكواب كانت قوارير من فضة قدروها تقديرا. So the goblets that will seem to be crystal will be bright as crystal, but of silver, the appropriate measure whereon they alone will determine. And they will be given to drink of a cup flavored with ginger. ويسقون فيها كأسا كان مزاجها زنجبيلا. From a source therein whose name is سلسبيلا. عينا فيها تسمى سلسبيلا. And immortal youths will circulate among them. When you see them, you will think them to be scattered pearls. ويطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون إذا رأيتهم حسبتهم لؤلؤا منثورا. And if you were to look around, you would see bliss and delight and great wealth. وإذا رأيت ثم رأيت نعيما وملكا كبيرا. Upon them will be garments of green silk and brocade, and they will be adorned with bracelets of silver, and their sustainer, their Rabb, will give them to drink of a drink most pure. عاليهم ثياب سندس خضر واستبرق وحلوا أساوير من فضة وسقاهم ربهم شرابا طهورا. And they will be told there in paradise, truly, all this is your reward since your endeavor has been appreciated. إن هذا كان لكم جزاء وكان سعيكم مشكورا. So all these mentioned blessings show that the righteous, the al-abrar, are not only they are delivered from the painful sufferings of on doomsday, but they will also be blessed with God's beautiful blessings and His blissful joy, as we are told in these ayat. So, from the beginning, this is a description of paradise, and there are many descriptions of Jannah, of paradise, in the Quran. So let's remember that these descriptions of paradise are allegorical, because we know, as it is indicated in numerous hadith, that we cannot even conceive or imagine paradise. We are told, for instance, this is a hadith that Alia loves and repeats a lot. يقول الله أعددت لعبادي الصالحين ما لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على قلب بشر. Meaning, the Prophet ﷺ says that God has said, I have prepared for my righteous servants, عبادي الصالحين, things which no eye has ever seen and no ear has ever heard and no human heart has ever conceived. And we will see how the language itself is allegorical. So, yet we still can get an idea of paradise is, like from the fact that the blessings of paradise, for instance, bear some similarities to those in this world. We are told in the Quran that they have some similarity. We will recognize them. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, the second surah of the Quran, in ayah 25, we are told, give those who believe and do good the good news that they will have gardens graced with flowing streams. Whenever they are given sustenance, rizq, from the fruits of these gardens, they will say, we have been given this before, because they were provided with something like it. هذا الذي رزقنا من قبل وأوتوا به متشابها. Like they will recognize it. But who are these people who recognize it? The people of paradise, الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات, the believers who acted on their beliefs and did good and righteous deeds. And in Surah Muhammad, alayhi salatu wassalam, which is Surah 47, in the 6th ayah, we're told that God will admit them into the garden or into paradise that He has already made known to them. وَيُدْخُلُهُمَ الْجَنَّةَ عَرَّفَهَا لَهُمْ. So it is already made known to us in two ways. One, it is described in the Quran, and in the Quran it is described with some things, that some points of references, something in the world that we can get an idea about paradise. Although we cannot know exactly what it is, but we have an idea that it is pleasurable, that it is blissful, that it is there is plenty of rahmah. It's the abode of rahmah, the abode of generosity, the abode of beauty and perfection. So these are indications, these two ayats that I just mentioned, that we can get glimpses of paradise in this life, meaning while we're still living on earth, not after death. After death it will be too late. After death we will inshallah get the results. So paradise is where we will see the reality of all the blessings, the source of all the blessing. And the source, the reality and source of all the blessings pertains to the beautiful divine names. And this we learn here. We learn it from the Quran and we confirm it and witness it here in this world. Therefore, the more we learn to perceive things as the ayat that they are, the more we will inshallah be able to perceive their tasbihat, their glorification of God with his beautiful names. The more we will be able to see wajhullah in everything, the aspect of everything that looks to the divine names, that does not perish with the things that perish. Everything is perishes except wajh Allah. So, for instance, we will be able to see and feel and experience and taste and live the mercy, the beauty, the generosity reflected in water, for instance, in its various reflections and manifestations in this creation, as pure quenching drink, as cleansing water, as rain in the form of rain used to resuscitate dead earth, as we are told in the Quran, and used to give life to all living beings, animals, plants, everything, in the form of lakes and rivers and oceans and flowing water and cascades, and for instance we're told in the Quran that the righteous believers, al-Abrar, will be the Rabb's welcome guests in paradise. In Surah al-Imran, which is the third surah of the Quran, ayah 198, we are told, whereas those who remain conscious of their sustainer, of their Rabb, they shall have gardens through which running waters flow, therein to abide, a ready welcome from God, and that which is with God is best for the truly virtuous, for al-Abrar. لكن الذين اتقوا ربهم لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها نزلا من عند الله وما عند الله خير للأبرار. للأبرار, because al-Abrar are aware that this is better than anything else. What is with God is lasting. Anything else in this world, anything that is not perceived as from God, anything that we see on its own and we interact with as though it were on its own, of course it's our own misperception, they will be, it means we are not seeing the countenance of God in it. We are not seeing that face, that aspect that looks to akhirah, that looks to the divine names. And so anything that is not related to God, anything that is not perceived from God, is fani, is transient and impermanent. And therefore, however good it is, at the end, it is not worth anything, because it perishes. So when we live mindfully as ibadullah, mindful of our being abd, which means we are mindful of the rububiyyah that we witness around us. We will witness it. We will know who our Rabb is. Then we will feel that we are his welcomed guest here and now on this earth. We will see and witness and testify that everything is made to serve us. within us and without in the world. And so we can confirm the meaning of this ayah 198 of Surah 3, even if we cannot imagine exactly how we will be welcomed in paradise. But we know that we are welcomed here in this world. And so we say, yes, this will be that kind of welcome. We can imagine that all the rahmah, the mercy, the compassion, the generosity, the help, the care that we witness here in this world will be there in paradise, but in a brighter way, in a less veiled way, let's say. So how will it be manifested? How will it be reflected to us there? We don't know exactly, but we're sure that it will be there, because it is here, and we see that everything perishes and goes, but the beauty, the perfection, the generosity, and the mercy they stay. The meanings change, the forms change, but the reflected attributes don't change. So we become sure that although we cannot conceive paradise, we are still sure that it will be a beautiful place, and there will be a beautiful welcoming, to the extent that we experience the welcoming of our Rabb in this world, and confirm the reality of our Rabb's welcoming us as ibad here on earth, here and now. So it's beautiful. And it's beautiful to know that the blessings of paradise are beyond our imagination. Because then we look with anticipation to akhirah, to eternal life, to meet our Rabb. And that is a reminder that we haven't been created for this transient life. We know deep down that we are not created for this transient life, because we don't like it. We don't like when beautiful things, beautiful friendships, beautiful anything perfect and beautiful, we don't want it to end. And so, however, we are not always true to our true fitra. We forget about it, and we forget that transience actually hurts us. And when we read these kinds of ayat, then it is a refreshing reminder that we are created for eternal life, for eternal bliss, and we have not, which means we have not been created for this transient life. As Ibrahim alayhi salam says, "La uhibbul afilin." I love not things that set, things that come down, things that end. Therefore, there is no benefit in investing in this worldly life unless it is for the sake of akhirah, inshallah. This is very important, because there are two attitudes that we can take. Either the cynical attitude that anyways we don't like transience, and there is only transience, so there is no meaning and purpose in life, and so it seems like everything is meaningless, but actually it's not, because the very fact that we are longing for meaning and purpose contradicts that conclusion. And there is the other attitude, both attitudes, I'm talking about the attitudes that are disconnected from akhirah, disconnected from from our Rabb, from our true source. And the other one is I'd better find happiness in happiness, because we long for that inner peace and satisfaction, and I'm going to find it in this world, which is pitiful and meaningless, because if anyone stops and ponder and reflects about it, it's clear that we can never reach inner peace in this world without any future, because the end of everything is death. And if we think that death is the end of everything, then it's very painful. So this knowing that there is paradise in Akhirah is very, very important to know right now. It's going to totally transform how we live our life here and now. Yes, Isra.
Yeah, so this is very helpful to, just to talk about these two main attitudes. We usually have a mixture of this, or a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it's very helpful to think about these two attitudes of responding to this finite world, both of which are without connecting to our Creator. So the cynical one and the indulging, they're both not satisfactory. I wanted to add another thing about the indulging. This notion that it's transient, and somehow if we keep running after it, it's worth running after it. You'll somehow get something, even though everything is ending and everything gives a lot of pain throughout. Just go after, just try to indulge more and more. It's so unsatisfactory, and I feel like I'm fooling myself, and it doesn't matter if everybody else is fooling themselves in the same way as I do. At the end of the day, we can't help each other. If this notion to kind of hang on to life, whatever that means, hang on to life, pretend you're not transient, pretend you're not in this passing flow, as if you can hold on to this water running through and try to grasp it again, and it's just so unsatisfactory. And regardless of, like, sometimes I bash media a lot, so maybe that, but there's sometimes in the media you see this image over and over again that just indulge, just change. If you don't like this, just change it, but keep just indulging yourself. You'll get somewhere, you won't get somewhere. And there's sometimes these figures, like culturally, in some cultures, if you're older, you're a bit more mature, so at least you'll remain a little bit aloof about kind of indulging yourself. But increasingly that old culture is also fading away. So we have this new culture where old people, very, very old maybe, but still they're portrayed in the movies and stuff, like she's also after indulging, and she's also running after this, that, and it's at the end of the day,
it's never too late, they tell you.
Yeah, never too late. But what is it that actually at least that person could have a moment of wisdom and look back, like, I have indulged so much and it didn't help me. So maybe as my life is withering away, maybe I can, as long as you're alive, it's a chance. Maybe I can look into that chance, and there's this almost like a propaganda. No, just try to indulge more, and you're only valuable if you can indulge, whether it's sexuality or whether it's other things, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, if you think about it, it doesn't help. Even that kind of image, trying to sustain that, only makes it more apparent, the pain, that it's not a solution to turn away from the world, kind of cursing the world because we can't get it. It keeps flowing. And the other attitude is like just try to hold on to this flowing water, clasp it harder, try different ways to clasp it. And that is disappointment also. So I just wanted to highlight that it really touched me the way you just put it that way. And that's a nice invitation to come to the world from a different perspective, and to start seeing the world as a foretaste of paradise, what a complete turnover. It's a foretaste of paradise, and that can only happen with seeing it as reflecting a beauty that's beyond itself. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you, Isra. So this means that through our experiences in this life, we get an idea of what paradise is like, even though we know that its beauty and blessings and perfections are beyond our imagination. But we can confirm the truth of this message. And when we confirm the truth of this message here and now, it's going to totally transform how we live our life, because then we start living with that knowing, with that certainty. We know our destination, and we are not expecting perfection in this world, because we know that it's just we're traveling through this world. We're not staying here forever. So it's going to totally change our perception of who we are as abd, as traveler, and what life is, and what we expect from what we are doing here, and what our destination, true destination is, inshallah. So for example, there is a verse in Surah 47, Ayah 15, that we are told in it, there are rivers of water that will never spoil, and rivers of milk whose taste will never change, and rivers of wine delightful to all who drink it, and rivers of honey of undiluted purity. And you probably all heard about it. I remember as a child I heard about this, and I used to think, rivers of honey? Like how? Because we used to hear about it, but we didn't know what it meant, and that it was an allegory. A sign is already a sign. It's a pointing to something beyond. But in this particular ayat, even the language is allegorical. So this shows us that paradise contains some perfections, some blessings, something that cannot be compared with things that we are familiar with in this world. But we get the idea that the flowing rivers are allegories indicating abundance. And how will abundance be manifested there? We will see when we get there, inshallah. Yet, we see glimpses of abundance here in this transient life. If we look around us, just now think about it, abundance of air, abundance of greenery, now with spring, mashallah, all the fresh, all the different tones of greens, and the trees and plants and insects and birds, all this abundance. And if you live in the deserts, abundance of sand, abundance of light, abundance of sunshine, in the ocean, abundance of water, abundance of life coming into being constantly. And you can think of more instances of abundance that we can observe and see in this world, and confirm that yes, everything is coming from a source of abundance, abundantly created in abundance. And so we can, although we don't know exactly what it means that there will be rivers of milk that will never get spoiled, the taste will never change, and rivers of honey, but we know that it means beautiful things sustenance that will be flowing there in abundance. That we won't have to work hard for it. It will be just available, accessible. It will be easy. And these abundant blessings will be, we understand that they will be delightful, they will be pleasing to the inhabitants of paradise. In Ayah 71 of Surah 43, we are told that they will have there all that their hearts desire and in which their eyes find delight. You will remain in it timelessly forever. وَفِيهَا مَا تَشْتَهِيهِ الْأَنفُسُ وَتَلَذُّ الْأَعْيُنُ وَأَنْتُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. So it says, what kind of place paradise is? It will be a place where whatever your heart desires will be there, and whatever your eyes, whatever is in it will delight your eyes, and you will remain there forever. Subhanallah. It makes the heart really happy just to know that yes, this is what we long for. So it's good news, like, oh, I thought I could not find it here, I thought I was unsuccessful. You think like, what am I doing with my life? You don't feel like a loser anymore, because yes, it's just that it's not on this side. I am on the right track. It's just like I was looking in the wrong place. And now these ayats are pointing us, indicating us the right place to look for. And that will be in the hereafter. And it speaks to the human soul, that they will remain there blissfully forever. MashaAllah. Isn't that what all human souls long for? An eternal life full of joy and never-ending blessings, abundant blessings, flowing easily. These descriptions of paradise, you'll find them everywhere in the Quran, mashallah. Because why are they repeated again and again in different ways? It means, remember we said repetition means it points to a need. The thing that we repeat the most is breathing, because we need breathing, we need air the most. We drink water more than we eat food, because we need, next to air, after air, we need water, and then we need food. We can spend days without food, but not without water, and we can't spend even a few minutes without air. Subhanallah. So the things that we need more are repeated. And so here we need to know about paradise, because it speaks to a need that we have, a longing that we have, and that cannot be fulfilled and satisfied in this world. However, when we know where it is, then we will work for it in this world, and we will be at peace, because we can remember. That's why in the Quran we are often told وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. Yaqeen bil-akhirah is important. Part of it is yaqeen bil-jannah, for instance, because akhirah should be part of our life here and now. It's not after we die, and we need to confirm it, to observe and perceive and make shahada that truly we see that everything is indicating akhirah here and now. We talked about it whenever we talked about akhirah. So these descriptions of paradise are repeated in the Quran because we need the reminder. The reminder that what we're looking for exists, but not in this transient life. But it is important to know that it is there, that it exists. not within the transient life, although the transience itself is assigned to eternity. So we start perceiving the world as evidences, as signs, as ayat, pointing to akhirah, pointing to what we are looking for and what we are longing for. And we can find all the evidences to eternal life here and now, including that deep longing for paradise, for peace, for joy, for bliss. And so again, we should not fall into the trap of giving up on eternal blissful life. That's the cynical attitude. Because we can't find it here, then give up on it. And we should not also fall into the other trap, which is looking for eternal happiness within the transient life itself. Because that's a waste of life. And most of us fall into the second trap. And that's how we arrange our schedules and our life. And as I always say, it's not like 20% of my time will be devoted to ibadah. No, we have to find the way that we are taught in the Quran is that in everything becomes a ibadah, form of ibadah. Everything becomes a means to know God. Everything becomes a means to live our ubudiyah. Everything becomes a means to confirm akhirah here and now. Everything becomes a means to witness the blessings that we are blessed with and be grateful to our Rabb here and now. And so we will have that certitude, that yaqeen, the certainty of akhirah here and now. And that certitude, that certainty, that yaqeen will save us much needless anxieties. And not only it will save us from anxiety, it will save us from wasting our life for looking for something that actually we can only have in akhirah, and that we can have a taste here, but when we live here for akhirah. When we live for akhirah now, then we will get a taste of that inner peace, that inner satisfaction, even if the world is transient, because part of us will be living in the other realm. But if we look for satisfaction within the transient for itself, then not only will we waste our life, but we will not be able to protect ourselves from much fears and anxieties. So this yaqeen bil akhirah will save us all those needless anxieties and fears, and will make our path to eternal life much more meaningful here and now, much more intentional and purposeful. We'll see the purpose, we'll see the destination. It's like driving without any light, in the night without light, or driving in daylight. And sometimes, when we have hardship, it's like driving, it's night, it's hardship, we don't really know what's going on, but we have still the lights on, the car has lights on. And therefore, that certainty will induce in us much more trust and gratitude and peace and surrender here and now. In Surah Al-Fatir, which is Surah 35, from ayah 33 to 35, there is a description of the people of paradise. And we're told they will enter gardens of perpetual bliss, therein to be adorned with bracelets of golds and pearls, and therein to be clad in garments of silk. And they will say, all praise is due to God. Alhamdulillahi alladhi adhaba an al-hazanu. Inna rabbana laghafurun shakur. All praise is due to God, who has caused all sorrow to leave us, all sadness to leave us. For truly our Rabb is indeed much forgiving, ever responsive to gratitude. He who out of his grace has made us a light in this abode of life enduring, wherein no struggle can assail us, and wherein no weariness nor fatigue can ever affect us. That's just what the human soul longs for. So back to Surah al-Insan, we are told in Ayah 12, وَجَزَاهُمْ بِمَا صَبَرُوا جَنَّةً وَحَرِيرًا. We're given a very important hint. So this and the rewards therein in paradise, the rewards for what they have been patient for is a garden and silk. Is paradise and silk. So here we are given a very important hint, which is bima sabaru. So paradise and the rewards therein and the blessings in paradise, which make paradise my paradise, will be delightful. Alhamdulillah, that's good. Now what matters for us is how do we get there, right? This is a beautiful place and we want to end there. How do we get there? We are told the people who got there, al-abrar, they got there because bima sabaru, because of their patience and steadfastness. So here we are given a hint, sabr, patience, is a key. And sabr comes with birr. These people are abrar. So al-abrar are patient and steadfast because they know that whatever is created, whatever happens to them, is created with purpose and meaning. And so they trust their Rabb and they remain patient in hardship. They don't have to understand whatever happens. Immediately they understand the wisdom and the purpose of what's happening. Not necessarily. We only understand as much as we are made to understand. However, they trust because they have experienced all the blessings all their life. Most people have experienced lots of blessings, but unless they live mindfully and are intentionally intend to choose to live with gratitude, they're going to forget it whenever they are in a difficult situation. The by default reaction of human being is to cry and say, like, why is this happening to me? And we don't remember all the good things that happened to us. We just say, why is this happening to us? From one perspective, okay, that means that we are made to not like it. But the only way to overcome it, the only way to learn from it and grow and mature with it, the only way to know how to respond wisely to that situation is to be mindful that it is not, whatever is happening is created, and whatever is created with purpose and meaning, and therefore it is beautiful, and therefore there is mercy and compassion in it, and there is wisdom in it. Even if I do not understand it, I am not the point of reference of everything because I don't know everything. So just because I can't see it, I cannot dismiss that it is created purposely and meaningfully. And that's the difference between the mindless and the the muhsin, the muhsin, the believers, the abrar. The abrar know, and so they trust. And because they trust, they don't panic, they wait patiently. They can be patient. That's where you can be patient. That patience is not an impatient tolerating what's going on. It is a patient accepting what's going on. And that acceptance is not that, for instance, there is illness, I don't do anything about it. No. I accept that I'm ill and that I need to look for a cure. And so patiently, without panicking, without anger, and with gratitude and with surrender and with trust, I look for a cure. And that's very, very different attitude. And we've seen in Surah Al-Ra'd, if you remember when we did Surah Al-Ra'd, which is Surah 13, sabr was there also a very important factor in relation to paradise. And that's, like here, it was an indication, we said then, that sabr here in this life opens up for us a window unto a paradise-like state of being, bi'idhnillah. When we have that sabr, that sabrun jameen, that beautiful patience, that trust in God even in hardship, when we are grounded in that trust, in that surrender to what's going on, then that state itself is a paradise-like state, and we are open to receive the blessings much more. We start seeing the blessings within the hardship and the blessings that come with the hardship, that follow the hardship. When we are in a state of panic and resistance, we miss lots of the blessings because we are not focused on seeing the blessings. So if you remember in Surah Al-Ra'd, it was from ayah 22 to 24, we were told, and those who are patient out of a longing for their sustainers' face, وَالَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا ابْتِغَاءَ وَجْهِ رَبِّهِمْ, and are constant in prayer and spend on others. So you see, lots of these qualities are the qualities of al-abrar, and spend on others secretly and openly out of what we provide for them as rizq, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ, as sustenance, and who repel evil with good, وَيَدْرَؤُونَ بِالْحَسَنَ السَّيِّئَةِ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عُقْبَى الدَّارِ. It is these that shall find their fulfillment in the hereafter. They shall enter gardens of perpetual bliss, together with the righteous from among their parents, their spouses, and their offsprings. And the angel will come unto them from every gate, and will say to them, As-salamun alaykum bima sabartum, فَنِعْمَ عُقْبَى الدَّارِ. Peace be upon you, because you have been patient. Or, yeah, bima, it's the same expression that we have in ayah 12, bima sabartum. How excellent then this fulfillment in the hereafter. Subhanallah. So this sabr is very important, and this sabr is not like, yes, it's very bad, I hate it, it shouldn't be like this, but what can I do? I'll be patient. You can do this 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, and afterwards you'll explode. We will explode. This is not how patience works. Patience is grounded in that belief in God, in Tawheed, knowing that everything issues from one single source, that our Rabb is the one in control and only Him, and therefore we trust, and therefore we accept, and therefore as we accept and trust, we are listening to the inner guidance and the outer guidance, and we will be guided out of that situation in من حيث لا نحتسب, in unexpected ways, and through it we learn new things, and through it we are traveling. It is the travel is not only a travel in time, because animals also grow older. It is a travel in spiritually. We need to grow and mature, and in belief, and in patience, and in trust in God, and in bir and ihsan, inshallah, and in taqwa. So all those, especially the hardships, are there to for us opportunities to grow and mature, bi'idhnillah. So peace is bestowed upon those who are patient out of a longing for their Rabb's face, because that's the only way you can be patient in peace. Salamun alaykum. Peace is given, and that peace, we know, I can confirm that this ayah 24 of Surah Al-Ra'd is telling me the truth, because whenever I am patient here, then you start feeling that peace coming onto you. You are rewarded with the peace of sabr, and it is sabr ibtigha'a wajhi rabbihim. There is a hardship, and you are wondering, where is the wajhi rabbi in this event? Where is it? And when you ask a question like this, then the answer comes accordingly. Not, why is it happening to me? Should not be happening. Why shouldn't it be happening? According to what? You don't even know why it's happening. Why? Just because I don't like it? Maybe it's bringing me something very good for me, not only in this dunya, but most importantly for akhirah. So according to what we decide that we don't like something? No, there is no criteria, just out of mindlessness. But when our purpose in life is ibtigha'a wajhi rabbina, is to seek the face of our Rabb in everything, then we seek His face in hardships as well, and we will find the beautiful names, beautiful meanings of the beautiful names there as well, and it becomes easy to be patient. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, Surah 23, Ayah 111, we're told, but behold, today I have rewarded them as much as they were patient. Truly, it is they who are successful. إِنِّي جَزَيْتُهُمُ الْيَوْمَ بِمَا صَبَرُوا أَنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ. So it's again بِمَا صَبَرُوا. So the reward is given to the extent that there is sabr, and there is sabr to the extent that there is trust, and there is trust to the extent that we know our Rabb. We know God as our Rabb, as the source of everything, as the only one who has control over everything, and that is the true success. So if someone doesn't have, the dominant culture is, what do you do for a life, and this, and look at the Sahabis, or the prophets. That was their careers, to carry the message of God and to live the message of God. That should be the career, the primary career of every mu'min, every believer. And that's where we need to be successful, inshallah. Anything else is just a a means and inshallah a wasila for this. So, and he will reward them, al-abrar, for all their patience and steadfastness with the garden and with silk, reclining in it. In ayah 13 we are told, reclining in it on couches, they will experience there neither burning nor bitter cold, which is an indication again to pleasantness. Means there will be no disturbing heat and no disturbing cold. Everything will be just right. That's what when we say paradise, say, oh, it was like paradise, we mean everything was just right. And its shading branches will droop down over them in ayah 14. دَانِيَةٌ عَلَيْهَا ظِلَالُهَا. It means they will even be protected with the shading of branches. Some commentators says the fact that there will be shade in paradise is an indication that there will be light, because shade can only exist when there is light, which fits paradise, because when we think light is a name of God. Nur is something beautiful. So hopefully, inshallah, paradise will be very light. Also, the word shade in Arabic can have different connotation. Of course, when we think shade, we also think protection. But actually, in the language, the word for shade can have different connotation. So in ayah 57 of Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4, there is an expression, وَنُدْخِلُهُمْ ظِلًّا ظَلِيلًا. Again, the people of paradise, we will how do you say? نُدْخِلُهُم. We will make them enter, we will admit them into cool, refreshing shade. But it has also been translated or rendered as we will admit them onto happiness abounding. And it's the same expression. Why? Because although the primary meaning of dhil is shade, and so the expression dhillan dhalila is usually rendered as the most shade. Actually, literally, it's in Arabic. You can literally it means the most shading shade. It means dense, intense, refreshing shade. In Arabic usage, there is also the word dhil also denotes a covering, a shelter, or figuratively protection. So it also means a state of ease, a pleasure and plenty, or simply happiness. And so in the combination in dhil and dhalila, it would mean intense, dense, cool, refreshing shade, or abundant happiness as well. And both of them are good for paradise. Both of them have, remember, all the units of the Quran are ayat, means they are signs, they indicate something beyond themselves. And the more you look into the language is also there, not for itself, but to point us to something. The language is, not only in Arabic, language is a sign. It's a sign to something beyond. And here the shade, the cool, refreshing shade, it's protecting them from heat, and the result is happiness, pleasure. And so we get an idea of what paradise is, or what the Quran is telling us about paradise. Something, a place where you will be very happy, where everything will go as you want, where all your needs will be met, bi'idhnillah. So ayah 14, we are told its shading branches will droop down over them, and its clusters of fruit will hang down low, most easy to reach. And this is repeated in the Quran many times, which means in paradise there will be no obstacle, no hardship, no hindrance, and not even a need to lift a finger to pick the fruits. It will come to you. I remember as a child they used to tell us like the stories about paradise, like you won't even go and pick it up. When you intend to pick it up, it comes to you. So this is the idea, that it'll be so easy. And remember that the blessings mentioned in these ayats are ayat. They are indications, they are signs. They are pointing to the wonderful rewards of paradise that no eyes has ever seen, no ears have ever heard, and no human heart has ever conceived. In 15 and 16 we are told, and they will be weighted upon with vessels of silvers and goblets that will seem to be crystal, bright as crystal, but of silver, the appropriate measure whereof they alone will determine. Meaning, they'll have as much as they may desire. It won't be too little, it won't be too much. And here the word قوارير is repeated. ويطاف عليهم بآنية من فضة وأكواب كانت قوارير. The next ayah starts with قوارير من فضة قدروها تقديرا. قوارير is only made of glass, because the term قوارير is the plural of قارورة, which means a container made of glass or of crystal. So when you hear قوارير, you think glass in worldly language. So how can glass be made of silver? It's an allegory. It's an allegory that's indicating that these goblets are as white as silver and as clear as crystal. Are they crystal or are they silver? They are not in this world. They are in another world. They are beyond our imagination. All these descriptions are only to give us an idea about something that is very beautiful.
It's beautiful, Sister Yamina, that the Quran itself, is giving us the clue that this is meant to be just a sign, just a indication, but it's not something that can be described, because crystal made up of silver, it doesn't make sense in our terms, but it's as if our Creator is telling us, it's really beyond your conception, because of course it doesn't make sense to think about silver. It doesn't make sense in the worldly terms. So it's just giving us a taste on the basis of what we have here. As it is being done, it is also being indicated that this isn't something you can imagine right now, because it could have just said crystal and I would have imagined crystal, but why would it bring, why would our Rabb say crystal and repeat the crystal and then connect it with silver? He knows that crystal silver means nothing in our world.
Yeah.
It's either opaque or transparent. Transparent, it doesn't happen.
Yes.
But it is put so clearly that this cannot be taken as a literal description, in the sense that you can understand what it is. So it gives us an understanding, bright, shiny, whatever, qualities from this world, but put in a language that, if you take it literally, doesn't make sense in our world. Silver cannot be crystal,
It's something unlike anything you've seen in this life, but it's not totally like something you don't have a clue at all. So it's something you're going to eat from or drink from, but what would it look like? That you cannot truly know.
It's very beautiful because it connects, we don't have to, fight about is literally it is metaphorical. We don't have to even disconnect the two. Like it is physical, it is symbolic, all at once. I'm just impressed by this way of description, using physical description in this very, like, within a space of a couple words, you get a sense that this is something very beautiful. This is also connected to my world, physical world, and
Yet,
spiritual world, and yet it is symbolic, and I cannot actually
very much unlike it at the same time.
yeah.
Subhanallah. Yes, alhamdulillah.
One metaphor that we had in one of the halakas long time ago was the metaphor of the person in the womb. And when the baby in the womb is growing, it is said that the baby starts feeling the movements outside, and maybe hears some of the sounds outside of the womb. But how would you describe to that baby what is outside? And just using what the baby is experiencing inside, just to describe the space. It has a sense of space. Let's assume the baby by 8 months, 7 months, they have maybe some sense of space. They're moving around, they're kicking around. But how would we describe to that baby, or how the
whole earth, the whole space outside?
Yeah, just the dimensions. We couldn't, how big is outside? Very, very big. What could that baby think? I mean, if the baby could be conscious and could understand it, maybe 10 times of the womb, 100 times of the womb, 1,000 billion times.
That's exactly our position right now compared with the hereafter. We are in the womb of this earth, of this world, and it's very, very limited compared with the hereafter, where the human soul here, the spirit, it feels like a cage to the spirit, really, when you think about it. But there it will be the world of the spirit, like it will be born into the world. It's like as you said, the baby, the embryo being born into the world. How different. It could have never imagined it, however hard you described it to him. However, there is something here. We can remember that these people who are getting the glimpses, and in Surah Al-Baqarah, when they say, this looks like what we had on earth, they are the believers who perceived things here with that dimension of the akhirah dimension, the beautiful names, the Asma al-Husna dimension. And so people who lived not only with their physical being and emotions and thoughts and emotions, but also with their spirit, with their ruh. And so they can get many more glimpses of that world than the average person. That's why when they are in paradise, they can start, they see that it's different, but in many ways it's different, in many ways it's similar, because the similar thing is the reality of everything, which is the divine names. Subhanallah. But here the point is that, like all other descriptions of anything to do with the hereafter in the Quran, this reference to the qawarir, the glass, the crystal, the thing that is like crystal but being made of silver, and before also the adornment of the believers with silk in ayah 12, and their reclining upon couches, are all allegories to the splendor of paradise, the restful, people will be resting and fulfilled. This is the fulfillment that awaits the righteous, inshallah. And in ayah 17 we are told that they will be given to drink of a cup flavored or instilled with ginger. ويسقون فيها كأسا كان مزاجها زنجبيلا. Again here ginger is a sign to a pleasant flavor. So if you don't like ginger, no worries, inshallah, you will have what you desire, bi-idhnillah. And these heavenly cups of drink are filled from a source therein whose name is Salsabila. عينا فيها تسمى Salsabila. Ayah 18. Interestingly, some commentators like Zamakhshari and Razi, some of the main classical commentators, they mention that according to Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anh, the term Salsabil is actually a compound of two words. Sal Sabila. Sal means ask, seek. Sal is al. Sabila, the way, which means seek your way to paradise by means of doing righteous deeds. Wallahu a'lam. Mostly it is not translated from a so they will be given a drink of a cup flavored with ginger from a source whose name is Salsabila. And there will circulate among them immortal youths, and when you see them you will think them to be scattered pearls. Again, what does it mean, scattered pearls? It means something very pretty. And this reminds me, whenever I see wildanun mukhalladun, of gatherings when the children are happy and laughing and playing and running around. Like, how does it feel? It makes us smile to just talk about it. And they add to the happiness of the event. In this particular context, it's not clear what the youth are doing. وَيَطُوفُ عَلَيْهِمْ. They circulate among them. However, it's often translated as immortal youths will wait on them or will serve them. And that's because in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, in Surah 56, in ayah 17 and 18, we are told immortal youths will circulate again, يَطُوفُ عَلَيْهِمْ وِلْدَانٌ مُخَلَّدُونَ, the same ayah. But then in 18 we are told بِأَكْوَابٍ وَأَبَارِقَ وَكَأْسٍ مِّن مَّعِينٍ. So immortal youths will circulate among them with goblets and jugs and cup filled from a pure spring. And that's why the assumption is everywhere Wildan Mukhalladun, these immortal youths, will be serving the people. And don't know, maybe when I think of the youth serving, it reminds me of well, now the youth here, what I have in mind is really young kids, like when they are 8 to 12 or something. Now the kids are only served, but when I was a child myself, kids were made to serve, especially when you have guests or gatherings, and they wouldn't cook the food themselves, but they will be serving around, and the kids themselves will be very happy and proud, and the guests, especially like the grandparents, all the time will be served by the kids, and the younger the child is, the prouder the family members are. They get lots of dua and prayers, and it's a sign of good education of the next generation, a sign of respect, of a respectful and humble and serving youth. So that's how they are taught to serve others. It starts at home, and especially in events, and everyone is happy when there are younger ones serving. It's a sign of hope for the next generation. that the message is being passed on, which I think is beautiful as well. And then we are told, and in Ayah 20, and if you were to look around, you will see bliss and delight and great wealth. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ ثَمَّ رَأَيْتَ نَعِيمًا وَمُلْكًا كَبِيرًا. And again, this is a sign to great wealth, to abundance, to magnificence, and to an extent that we cannot truly comprehend. We can only guess that this is something so magnificent beyond our imagination, inshallah. Something to really long for, something that's worth as a destination, as a purpose. Not a purpose in life, but as a destination, yes, because the purpose is not Jannah. And actually, when you live as abrar, then Jannah cannot be the purpose, because it's only a reflection of the meanings of those beautiful names of God. The purpose is to know God, to be abd to Him, to worship Him. And in Ayah 21 we are told, upon them will be garments of green silk and brocade, and they will be adorned with bracelets of silver, and their sustainer, their Rabb, will give them to drink of a drink most pure. The term here is عَلِيهُمْ ثِيَابُ سُنْدُسِ خُضْرٍ. So the sundus actually means thin silk cloth, and وَإِسْتَبْرَقٍ, and istabraq, which is translated as brocade, means thick silk cloth. So it's like before the is it crystal or is it silver? Is it opaque or is it transparent? Here also, is it thin or is it thick? It's thin and thick. It reminds me of those old how would they call them when you have always like riddles, like telling a truth that is beyond comprehension through paradoxes and opposite terms. And so here also it's like their garments will be thin silk clothes and thick silk clothes. So what we understand is that this is again allegory to something beautiful that is worn, yet we cannot really imagine it. But something that is worn, something that protects, something that adorns. And it seems like the adornment and the beautifying is much more emphasized here than the protection, because right after is the bracelets of silver. And we know that in Surah Al-Kahf, it's bracelets of gold, for instance. وَسَقَاهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ شَرَابًا طَهُورًا, and they will be given a drink most pure. And green is usually believed to be the color. The green is here the color of the garments that they will be wearing. But green is said to be a symbol of ever freshness and permanence. It's the color of the earth during spring, when everything is created again anew. And in the next ayah we're told, and they will be told, truly all this is your reward, since your endeavor has been appreciated. إن هذا كان لكم جزاء وكان سعيكم مشكورا. And this blessing, where God Himself appreciates and thanks the righteous for their endeavor, is superior to all the other blessings listed so far. This is the ذلك الفوز العظيم, as we are told in the Quran. This is the supreme triumph. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah 5, Ayah 119, we are told, رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك الفوز العظيم. It reminded me of that. God is well pleased with them and they are well pleased with him. This is the triumph supreme. Can you imagine? إن هذا كان لكم جزاء. All these things mentioned in paradise are all these is your reward since your endeavor has been appreciated. Actually the word in Arabic is mashkur, has been thanked. God thanks the righteous for their endeavor. He appreciates their endeavor. So all this is given as a mark, as a sign of appreciation. So the reward itself is good, but the meaning of the reward is even more valuable. The fact that it is given as a token from God, a token of appreciation from God himself, that makes it the supreme triumph, the best blessing ever. And of course all those blessings are ayat, are signs to God's appreciation, and that's why they are so valuable to the abrar, to the believers who know their Rabb, who know who their Rabb is, who appreciate their Rabb. They appreciate him, they are pleased with him, and when to the extent that we are pleased with our Rabb, we'll realize that he is pleased with those who are pleased. He is pleased with the grateful, because then the ni'mah, the blessing, has fulfilled its purpose of creation, and we would have fulfilled the purpose of our creation, which is the purpose that God has willed for us. God has willed for his blessings, for paradise. Subhanallah. In Surah At-Tawbah, which is Surah 9, in Ayah 100, we are told, those who follow in the way of ihsan, God is well pleased with them, and they are well pleased with him. And for them he has readied gardens through which running waters flow, therein to abide beyond the count of time. This is the supreme triumph. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه وأعد لهم جنات تجري تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا ذلك الفوز العظيم. Subhanallah, this is success. This is what the human being, the human soul, the human heart longs for. We all want that success, that triumph, but this is what we should be looking for. Everything else is worthless. Subhanallah. أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وادخلني برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. آمين. والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. والحمد لله رب العالمين. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Yamina. Beautiful session. Are there any comments or questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام.
This is the first time I use the phone, so it's interesting. Jazakallah khair, Yamina. When you were speaking, the thing that came to my mind were stories that I have heard from some of the Syrian refugees here, who have like their experience as their homes, like the buildings around them were bombed, and like they were like all of like the war around them, and how they kept their home and their kids from feeling all the negativity by focusing on positive things. So by focusing on the abundance that they have. So one of the things that they would speak, like you said, the abundance of sunlight, you know, that they are together. So the mother will always and the mother will spend a lot of time describing heaven for them. Like she will speak about oh, this is very noisy. Oh, alhamdulillah, heaven wouldn't have noise. Oh, it's very hot in the home right now. You know, there's no heaven, will be full of light. So she used the time that they scaring them and being scared her to different places. Subhanallah, yeah. It is like some people would look, would I be able to do this if this was like happened to me? But subhanallah, it is that I can see it in spite of to see it amidst all of the killing and the bombing, and realize that this is something transit, but there's another world, and that other world will not have what we're having here. You know, light will be abundant. There's so many, and like what you said, if they cannot get something said, can you imagine in heaven, all what we need to do is to just want this to happen. Like here, we would have to go out, and sometimes it's dangerous to get it, and maybe you cannot, but in heaven. So she would take the whole situation and turn it around by speaking about what we're.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. In those situations, it's from one perspective, it becomes easier to realize how fragile this life is, and that the akhirah that we think is very far is actually so close.
Peacefully and healthy and nice, and then I will come either one of this that you've talked about, like akhirah is element of azak, and we live in it right now. It's not tomorrow, it's now. Subhanallah.
Your voice is breaking up, so it's very hard to understand at this time what you're saying. But
if there's something that's easier. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm just saying that for some people it is.
No, actually, no, it's breaking up again. But inshallah,
and for these people can now, like in every.
Sister Ali, I'll have to mute you because your voice is constantly coming broken. But I think inshallah we get the overall point. I'm sure you could have elaborated more, but inshallah, it's a very, very touching example that people in those kinds of difficult war circumstances can actually turn that into a moment to connect with the real world, the paradise. They still had a choice to become cynical because the transient is so apparent. The fragility of the world is more so apparent in those kind of war situations. Indulging is not as easy as an option, but being cynical is also a challenge, a temptation, and then to turn that.
When we focus on the world itself, but when we are aware that it's reflecting something else, then it becomes a mirror to akhirah. Actually, those circumstances become mirrors, reminding us that akhirah is much, much closer than we we think when we are in ghafla.
Can I speak? I mean, so reading Quran is just a pleasure, right? And then, so from one of the verses you get that you read that you let it speak to you, and another principle is to put myself in the shoes of everyone, so to really be with that scene, whether they're talking about the believer or the unbeliever, So, and then these verses, so to read them very slow and let them speak to you and really, really kind of think and feel into them, and, imagine in a place where you are sitting and it's just the right temperature and there is the shades and the grapes and so on. And so going along these verses, it really brings you to that it brings you really closer to that place of paradise. So it's very nice, a nice thing to do. I remember that we did that sometimes, and that I really felt, oh yeah, that's how paradise feels.
Alhamdulillah.
So very nice, thank you.
Alhamdulillah, thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to ask a question or share a comment? Just to add, one of the things that touched me in today's session is this idea of a beautiful patience, Sabrun Jamil, and how peace is bestowed on those who are patient out of a longing for their Rabb's countenance. And then this idea of when we're frustrated and we think, oh, like, why is this happening? To kind of switch that around and say, well, where is the face of my Lord? Where is the face of my sustainer? Meaning, where is the face of beauty and power here? And I don't seem to see it. I find this ugly or painful, but what is the face of that? Immediately, I put myself in a situation, like a personal situation where I'm frustrated, I don't understand, and then the moment I ask that question, well, where's my Rabb's face in it? Immediately, I felt kind of a relief coming forth, like a little bit taste of that peace. Inshallah, we can stay in that space of trust and a space of longing for his face. Then the way the events look to us can, inshallah, change.
With patience and steadfastness, inshallah. Sabr. آمين. اللهم اجعلنا من الصابرين إن شاء الله.
All right, so thank you so much, everyone, for your comments and for joining us tonight. And Jazakumullah khair, Sister Yamina. And so as we're ending, just as housekeeping, I wanted to ask, shall we start our study at 8:30 Eastern Time instead of 8 o'clock as Maghrib prayer is moving forward? Would that work?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay. So then, inshallah, next week onwards, we'll start at 8:30. Yeah, we'll continue. Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair again. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Keep us in your prayers, inshallah.